If you thought the Harappans were broken in Humankind, this is even worse, and you could actually scale through. Welcome back to Humankind. Today we're talking about the Huns, specifically their nomadic unit, the multiplying Hunnic Horde, and man, it is cheesy. Cheesy, cheesy, cheesy. Combine it with an outpost that has some very special features that let you spend influence to buy units. We've got a whomper of videos, ladies and gents. Sit back, relax, and let's jump straight in. Now, the Hunnic Horde unit, as we've discussed, is a nomad. So it's a special unit that gathers food by fighting other units and winning, or ransacking outposts, improvements, so on and so forth, to multiply itself. It's also a multi-mover, so it can move until all of its movement points are depleted, and it ignores zone of control. You can fire and move, for example. If you produce them in a normal city, right, watch here as I queue one up. Okay? It's gonna use production or gold to make it. Totally fine. That is exactly the same way any other unit would be built in Humankind. However, if you go to an outpost, an unattached outpost, that has since been upgraded to your Ordu, you'll see that you can spend influence to buy these units. Makes them pretty special. Now, one other thing you might not know is that every outpost has a population amount, up to 4. You can see that this one has 4 out of 4. If I spend a measly 16 influence, that's really, really nothing. And one of the reasons why Assyria is actually a great starting point for you, because you start to generate some influence through their unique district. That means that I'm actually getting a fair amount of influence per turn already, and I can simply create a Hunnic Horde here. Of course, it loses all of the outpost's population, but that will replenish. As you can see, it has yields around the outposts that are netting it some food, and it will eventually grow. But look at this. Instantly, not 1, but 4 Hunnic Hordes. 16 influence, 4 Hunnic Hordes, and that's out of 1 outpost. Watch this. Let's head over to this one. It's nearly got its 4th population, and I can nearly pump out another 4 in the same turn. Honestly, this is ridiculous. As soon as these outposts grow to 4 pop, I pump out the units. And this is where my second crucial sort of tip comes in here to go alongside this. When you're placing your outposts, try and place them in areas that have high food. You don't actually so much care about production with these, you just care about population. And how do you get population? Food. So when you're placing your outposts in the very early game, focus on high food outposts rather than the normal high production outposts that we might usually focus on. Considering that our outpost here, with a measly 16 influence, can build 4 Hunnic Hordes, and our city, our well-established city, takes 2 turns and 1 pop to build a single one, it's a no-brainer. You want to be pumping out these hordes from your outposts rather than your cities if you can, and you should instead be using your cities to build up everything else that you have to do. Because you're probably not going to be upgrading or attaching many of your outposts at this stage in the game, it's crucial that you still keep your 2 cities, because they're going to be churning out influence for you, and that you focus in on building up things that your outposts won't be able to provide you, right? You need still some production centers, for example, to build other units to accompany the Hunnic Horde. And that brings me to one of my other points. Because it's a mounted unit, it can't scale walls, so you will still need to have somewhere where you can build some other units. If you have units lying around from a previous era, like my Assyrian raiders, which can't be upgraded because they're not nomadic, you can, of course, in case you've forgotten, transfer the unit or indeed disband the unit and send that population to one of your cities or outposts. But wait, hold the phone. This outpost here only needed 1 more pop. So what happens if I send one of my redundant Assyrian riders, which can now, by the way, ride very, very far, thanks to the Huns trait? I wonder what happens then if I send this here and disband it. Is this Another way to make this even more ridiculous, by disbanding your early game units, including your nomadic scouts, into your outposts? Let's find out. And what do you know, literally by the next turn the outpost had coincidentally already grown, so I can hit this button, spend another 16 influence, pump out another 4 of these, but let's just test this just to make sure. So as you can see, no population, here's my unit, click it, click disband, okay. And sure enough, there's the one pop in there. Let's have a look and see how this battle actually plays out. I'm going to position myself fairly forward aggressive position here, I think. And now let's fire upon the enemy. Remembering that we are ranged units, not melee. What does that mean? It means we don't take damage when we shoot something. We don't take return fire damage. Could these units get any better? Have them as separate armies. That way, you actually do get to properly take advantage of them multiplying. Unlike me here, I was just so excited to get into this fight that I just jumped in and absolutely paid no regard to the fact that I could have multiplied my hordes there. But never fear, there's many more opportunities where that came from. We don't need unit industry cost at all because we can multiply and purchase with influence, so I'll take the additional combat strength here, I think. Let's grab 2 of these, bring these other 2 in. Again, we're using all 4, but they're in 2 separate armies. And you'll see now that with 15 food, they can start to multiply and fill up these remaining slots. It's worth noting also there are certain technologies that will increase the amount of units you can have within an army, and it might be worth pursuing some of those. As per usual, I don't really mind where I deploy at all, actually, because I can move and fire and nothing matters. So, let's move these units forward and strike at the enemy. Brilliant. Let's reinforce the second army up the rear. In they come. And in fact, we'll actually remove these guys from the front line. Look at this insane movement. And we'll bring these guys up to the front line instead. Take a couple of shots. Brilliant. And we might as well scoot back this way a bit. And then we can still defend all of our units. Brilliant. Alright, now it's the opponent's turn. They're going to run at me and hopelessly, really not achieve a whole lot. I mean, they did a little bit of damage to me, granted. You know, fair enough. I respect it. And again, lather, rinse, and repeat. Fire from the front, move them to the back, bring the next ones up, and fire again. It's a foolproof strategy, and you will absolutely dominate your opponent with these insane raider units. Take a look here. Now I have 3 in each horde, and I'm nearly at my 4th. What does that mean? Well, in practice, actually, it means we could pull one out from each one, and then have 3 roaming armies of 2. You can see how this just gets more and more ridiculous. Look, here's another 4 coming in. They could take these guys on. I'm constantly also checking at my territories, just checking how many population are living in each of these. How close am I to spamming out some more? Let's get rid of this old unit. We don't need that. Disband it as we've shown. And we're nearly there. You can see how ridiculous this can scale. But it gets even better than that. Bear with me and let me show you something else extraordinary. And let's just disband this warrior, push this outpost up, and then by disbanding one warrior, noting you can also do it with your extra hordes that you start producing in battle. You can send them back, trade one in, and then all of a sudden, pop, out pop 4 more of them. And they're ready to go. And don't forget, they can also multiply by ransacking, so if you stumble across an enemy outpost that you'd like to make your own, or indeed some of their resource improvements, you can always just hit that ransack button, you'll get a bit of food, in fact, a lot of food, it's in fact so much food, you'll need to actually start separating some of these units out. Okay. That's how much food you're going to earn. So it might actually pay to leave some space free, and maybe head over here and do even more ransacking. This looks like a lot of fun. And then I'm going to use my extra hordes to just sort of float around, guarding these other ones while they're ransacking to ensure that they don't get disrupted, right? I really don't want them to be disrupted. Oh, got a couple of old scouts here that I'm not doing anything with. Disband, brilliant. 17 influence, pop out another 4 Hunnic Hordes. Lovely. The one thing that you should note is that it will cost you a lot of gold to upkeep these units, okay? So as I'm going crazier and crazier and crazier and absolutely getting just the most ridiculous standing army you've ever seen for this early in the game, I mean, look at it. It is costing me a lot of gold. So what can you do? Well, obviously you can start to build more in your actual cities, start to generate more gold. That's one option. Second could be to start doing a lot more ransacking to earn gold this way. And then the third option could be, if you're really just producing so many of these things that you don't know what to do with, you can send them back to the main cities and do the population distribution trick in reverse, right? You can actually disband you can come into the outpost, produce the units, take them back to the city, and then disband them, thus transferring population to your cities and ensuring that they don't fall behind in later eras, right? If you can build up your population base here too, then you make sure that once you're done doing the horde thing, once you've made it through your nomad phase, you can then actually fall back on some really reliable cities and start to attach these outposts to them afterwards. So here we go. These ones are surplus to requirements and actually costing me quite a bit of cash. So, I might just, I don't know, trade 3 of them in here into the capital. See, population up, up, up. Actually, let's just get rid of all of them. And now the capital's got 9 pop. Brilliant. Look at this. Oh my goodness. It's growing so fast, I'm going to need more jobs for these people. And because there's more of them, they're going to start producing everything a lot quicker for me. You can see how this can scale out of control very quickly, ladies and gents. Very quickly indeed. Holy moly. Thankfully, the spoils of war are keeping us, well, I mean, we're bankrupt, but the spoils of war are ensuring that we don't go completely broke. Oh my goodness, it's so good. I can even just trust the auto-resolve, because whenever they win, they replenish themselves. So long as the auto-resolve has just a slight chance of winning, the spoils will ensure that all of the units are replenished, so you can just keep going and going and going. I just took this city with an auto-resolve. With mounted units. What on earth is going on? This is ridiculously insane. And they just keep fleeing me, and I just keep running them down and replenishing everything. Look at them go. They are so terrified of the Horde, and for very good reason. Well, that's one way to pretty quickly take control of the map. What if we could do the same to old mate next door? Oh, so this outpost is 1 unit away from allowing me to buy some more. So if I just disband that one in here, I will be able to trade that one for 4 more. Brilliant. That's a pretty quick and easy way to establish an army right next to the enemy capital, don't you think? I think so. Oh, but you know what? I didn't actually need them, because my 3 units... Look, I've got all of these ones waiting in the wings. I've just sent my 3 units in just to see what would happen. Let's insta-resolve. Oh, look at that. Another capital. Fallen. Insta-resolve, insta-success, insta-replenished. Remember when I promised there was something even more crazy? Well, as you may or may not know, you can also choose to progress through into the medieval era as the Mongols. Now your ransacking is twice as strong. You've got an order, which is basically the same outpost again, so you can continue this strategy, but instead you'll be continuing it with the Mongol Horde, which is essentially a more powerful version of the Hunnic Horde. This is very much a lather, rinse and repeat, but with the added benefit of your ransacking being twice as strong and your horde units being more powerful, remembering that they're also going to receive the combat bonus from our legacy trait when we played as the Huns as well. Basically, it's like Huns 2.0. Okay, so I've woken up the next morning and all of a sudden I'm a Mongol. What does it mean? Well, it means that these units can of course be upgraded, but it's going to cost me. It's really going to cost me. But is it? Well, if you don't mind losing some that have perhaps an additional veterancy level, you don't mind losing the little bit of progress you've made, you can of course repeat the exact same strategy as last time. Now it's going to cost me 34 influence, and I can pick up, wabam, 4 brand new, literally the first turn playing this culture, and I have 4 of their unique units, the Mongol Horde. Now, of course, what you can do here, and this is another little gimmicky thing, but it's really powerful. Pop into your territory. Oh man, I can't afford it. I don't have the pop, and I've got all these units waiting around that I can't upgrade because it costs 100 gold each. What do? Send them to an outpost. Yes. Disband the units. Yes. That will add the population into the outpost, and then for a measly 34 influence, wabam, you've just upgraded them into the Mongol Hordes. Can you believe this? This is so ridiculous. I can literally just keep doing this. I now barely even need to pay any cost to upgrade these units. I simply need to disband them into my outposts and then pump out some more. Initially, when I was going to make this video, I thought there were some downsides, right? They can't scale walls, and therefore they're not very good at taking cities, and the fact that you can't produce them in cities as easily was a real drawback, right? You have to build them like every other unit. You can't magic them up. But with the outpost mechanic, and the fact that you can magic them out of outposts, even realistically, just 1 or 2 outposts would be as you could get away with just literally 2 or 3 at the most. I think overall, it's really hard to justify not playing them. So do stick around and maybe give them a go. Would you like to become the Hunnic Horde? I really think you should. If you enjoyed this video, please do leave a like rating, and until next time everybody, I'll see you then. Take care and bye-bye. Get out of my land.